Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to episode 46 of the Alchemy Devlog. It's your pal Isaac here with the latest news from the dev team. In this episode, we're going to talk about a few dice rolling upgrades, right-click to delete items from character sheets, and some Vampire the Masquerade updates. I'll also take a few moments to talk through what we're working on next and answer any questions that have come in through that devlog Q&A forum. If you have a question of your own, you can find a link to that down below in the description, so send that my way. Let's dive in. All right, first up, let's take a look at a D&D game. We have a few cool updates for dice rolls across any system really, but one of them is specific to D&D, so we're starting here first. Last time, if you had tuned in to the previous episode, you got to see the right-click and roll use with modifications that we rolled out for actions. Well, when we did that, 5e lost the ability to roll with advantage and disadvantage, so we quickly patched that one up a few days later, and I'm here to show you that one now. So when you're using an action, this is a D&D attack. We just rolled a 4 for our D20. You can right-click and choose Use with Advantage to queue up that action with advantage and then mix in any other dice modifiers that you would like to add to the roll. I'm not going to use any here. And in this case, wow, we got a big roll because our advantage gave us a crit. But as you can see here, we rolled with an advantage. The 19 result was dropped, and we kept the 20 and added in our crit damage. Now, if I right-click and use with disadvantage, we're going to get that rolled at disadvantage. It's going to keep the lower of the two rolls. Works exactly the same as use with modifications. As I mentioned, you could add in a few dice here or not. You can just deselect that and call it a day. So that's now working for 5e again and supports all the good use with modification stuff. Next up, something that we're working on that is rolling out today as sort of an experiment is the ability to re-roll individual dice from a previous roll. So it's not working today for things like actions, but it will be in the next week because we want to build this out specifically to support one of our upcoming game systems, Outgunned. It has the need for re-rolling specific dice in a pool. Which is really something you need in a lot of cases. So to show you how this works, I'm going to go ahead and grab arbitrary dice from my dice tray. We'll take a d20, a d12, and a d10, and we'll roll those into the journal. And when I want to re-roll any of the dice that were used in this, I simply hover over them and click the die that I want to re-roll, and you can see it fades out, showing me that I'm going to keep the 4 and the 4 here, but re-roll that 1 on the 20. Clicking reroll, we should see a new value for the d20, but we kept the 4 results for the d12 and the d10. And this works for multiple dice. We'll get rid of that 11 and 4 and keep the final 4 there. Or we could reroll all 3 of them if we wanted to, like that. So I mentioned this already, but just to stress, this only works for roll commands right now, times where you're using polyhedral dice from the dice tray down here. Or you're using a /roll command. We'll roll 2d20. This will also let us select one to reroll. We'll get rid of that 9 and keep the 17. However, we will be working over the next week to make this work for dice pools. At the very least, it's definitely going to be working for dice pools because we need that for Outgunned. But the goal is to get it working for everything. So if you rolled an attack action and you needed to reroll one of the damage rolls, for example, you'd be able to click on the 1, reroll, and it would redo that whole greatsword attack action, but reroll the 1 on that d6. So look for more on that over the next couple of weeks. Like I said, next week we're hoping to have that out for Outgunned, but I think we'll be continuing to kind of adjust and polish this over the coming weeks. All right, next up, we'll just stay in this 5e game because that's nice and easy. You can remove items from your character by right-clicking them here in the equipment panel, but you have not been able to do the same thing from the character sheet, which matters when you're inside of universes and other places like that where you may not have the equipment panel handy. So we'll go ahead and just remove this tinderbox here from the equipment panel. We can also go into the character sheet edit, and go to our equipment tab and right click on our mess kit to remove that and delete it from our character. Previously you had to go into the item, turn on edit mode, click delete, wait for that to save, and then come back out. But now you can just really quickly right click and remove all the things you want to remove from your character sheet. So nice quick quality of life improvement for you all. All right, next up, let's dive into some specific enhancements we've made for vampires since last time. Let's jump into my Ald Sanguine game here and take a look at the new Oblivion stuff. So on the character sheet, under the discipline section, let me edit and go to disciplines. Down at the very bottom, there's an Oblivion section. These Oblivion powers come from a few of the specific supplements here, like Player's Guide, Chicago by Night, Blood Gods, and Sabbat. And you can select these Oblivion powers from this dropdown if you have that stuff on your account. So I've already got the Ashes to Ashes power selected here. Destroy a corpse by dissolving it, which is very metal. I'm going to go ahead and close this and scroll down to the bottom of my disciplines panel and click on the Oblivion Ashes to Ashes power and just roll it as is, which throws these 3 cards into the journal for each of the 3 actions that are part of that Oblivion power. So I got a success this time. That's great. 1 success, 1 failure, another one for the rouse check, and then information about what the defender needs to roll here in the final card. So Oblivion and Oblivion powers are now ready to rock for Vampire. Next up, we added the ability for your hunger tracker to affect rolls. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to my skills panel and make a stamina check with resolve. We'll roll that as is. And you can see we have 4 vampire dice in our pool for this. If I add some hunger to my hunger tracker and make that stamina check again, you see that now I have automatically replaced 2 of the dice in that pool with hunger dice due to my hunger tracker being incremented. So this is kind of our first foray into trackers affecting other rolls. I think we're going to be doing a little bit more of this as we go through different scenarios, not just for Vampire, but for other games as well. But yeah, this will use hunger dice when necessary for skills and other stuff in vampire games, so that you don't have to worry about how hungry you are in the game. Instead, you can just worry about how hungry you are in real life. But hopefully not for, vampire stuff. Yeah, so hope all of you vampire folks enjoy those updates, and we're going to keep them coming. All right, what's up next? Well, I sort of alluded to there being more vampire stuff, but there's actually really not a lot of vampire stuff to do. There is the initiative changes that I mentioned last episode, where you would have a categorized list of the combatants for a basic encounter where they might be categorized into close range, etc. And you could move them around between those different groups or categories. That didn't end up happening since last episode because of some shifts in priorities, but it's still definitely on our list for soon. So you can expect that to be coming out probably in the next, I should have another update on it in next episode if it's not already out. So there's that to do for Vampire. We've got more content that we're putting in for Vampire. So there will be a few more releases for that, which I'm excited about myself. We've also got some big Year Zero engine game fixes coming your way. So we're starting with some big updates and fixes for Twilight 2000. We're going to be adding the ability to use the step dice system in that and step your dice up or down in your rolls. We have a cool solution for how that's going to work and fit into Alchemy in a really cool way. As well as ammo rolls. We're going to try to get Twilight 2000 kind of sorted out first out of all those Year Zero engine games. But we're diving into an extended sort of sprint or several sprints around tidying up some loose ends with those Year Zero engine games. from, action types or skills or ability rolls that aren't working quite right or not working at all. From those sorts of things all the way up to getting initiative working correctly in all the systems and building in some accommodations for how initiative runs in those games as well. So lots of cool Year Zero engine updates coming your way in the next few weeks. Other than that, we are working on Outgunned right now. We're shooting to have that released next Friday, October 25th. And that reroll mechanic that I showed off at the beginning of this episode is very key. That's the last thing we need for Outgunned to really work. It has these sort of Yahtzee style dice pools that you can reroll single dice or several dice from. And we needed a slick way to handle that. So we'll be jamming on that for the next week and polishing Outgunned up for release. And of course, City of Mist is still in beta, and we have a lot of feedback to address there still. So we're going to be jamming on that. We've begun the design process on Call of Cthulhu, getting character sheets started and thinking through what that system's going to be like. And we're hoping to have some sort of beta before the end of the month for Call of Cthulhu. We'll see where that lands, but that's currently our goal for that. Beyond that, we, as always, will be putting out bug fixes and smaller improvements throughout the platform. The last real big feature on our roadmap is, of course, the one that's been yellow for ages, streamer mode. We've got pretty much everything in place there, but as a reminder, there's one camera layout and a couple smaller features that we want to have for streamer mode before we call that done. But we're letting that one sit for a little while because of other priorities with some of our game systems. But we'll be getting back to streamer mode before too long. It's not going to be before next episode, but it's still there. We're still jamming on it. Cool. Well, let's dive into the Q&A now. All right. Scene folders and organization. Lunar asks, hello, I would like to know if there is any chance to see scenes as a folder for other scenes. For example, it would fit the creation of a general city scene folder, and within there could be different locations or other scenes that could happen within that city. So nice and simple answer on this one. We've worked on a few different ideas for scene organization, and we know that it's kind of a little bit of a pain if you have a game that has like 100 scenes in it and you're trying to find the one. We do have the filter bar to help you kind of jump between different scenes. So one thing you can do today is, I'm going totally off script here. One thing you can do today is use tags on your scenes to sort of organize them into hidden folders. So you could put different tags on each scene to have those show up when you search in the scenes panel in the game. But we definitely know that having some sort of folders, expandable structure there would be really nice. And we do have a few designs prepared already for what that could look like, but we haven't settled on exactly what we want yet or how deep we want that to go with scenes. For example, do we want there to be certain common elements between all of the scenes in a folder and different things like that? So we definitely have some ideas here, and we're working on some designs. I don't have an ETA for when we'll be working on that. It's not likely to land before we wrap up V1, because I think what we have for scene organization today works great for our V1 needs. So this is likely a post V1 enhancement, but it's definitely on our minds. So stay tuned for more updates on that. And thanks for the question. All right, that's it for this episode of the Devlog. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, head on down below, smash that like button, click subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Let's go play some games.